Worthless Mutts here, Gore the dog butcher. Uh, for the longest time, since I was a child, teenager, since the early days of the internet being introduced, like I'm always searching things. I'm always using search engines to just search things. Sometimes things come in my head and I would search it. You see things on TV you didn't know about, so you just kind of search it to confirm. On movies, yeah, you can call me maybe a search engine addict. I always tend to search things. Sometimes I feel I do it too much, but again, I rather know than not know anything. Uh, so based on my last video, one of the last videos I made mainly comparing parents allowing their children to interact with pit bulls or dogs, but they will have a problem with their child watching a scary movie, for instance. And sometimes these thoughts just pop in my head. Like sometimes I'm doing nothing and doing something, whatever, and then these just thoughts of I like there's something related to dogs just pop in my head. Something like not related to dogs pop in my head, and you kind of compare it to this dog culture, and you compare it to whatever, and you're like, like there's like this, I guess this double standard, this unfairness when it comes to dogs, and even these dog lovers and dog owners. When a dog attacks or kills someone, a child, they write a blurb about it. Child attack, name the dog. Dog gets put down. Dog is quarantined. Child dies. Child is in critical condition. End of story. The media doesn't blame the owner. The media doesn't blame the dog. They may bring an expert on, and they will, again side with the dog, and then we move on. However, in the real world, when incidents do happen, you know, someone it always has to be reliable. When an incident happens, so if you do an incident and hurt someone by accident, let's say you're at work or whatever the case may be, you're driving, at the end of the day, you as a person are going to get blamed for it. You're not going to, they're not going to, downplay you. They're not going to protect you. They're not going to bring on experts to protect you. They don't do that. Reality is, if you do an action and it hurts someone, you will be held responsible for it. But that's not the case with dog culture. So I'm looking up. So after I mentioned, movies, children watching movies, I was looking up on Google if there's like anything of children watching movies and hurting themselves, or watching movies and imitating it and hurting themselves or hurting others. And I didn't find anything. I just did not find any. Not sure if it's just the Google search engine algorithm, or there's just nothing out there of children watching certain movies, violent movies, scary movies, than going out there and hurting someone or hurting themselves. I just couldn't find any. So I'm searching, and then I thought of, what about wrestling? Wrestling. I used to watch wrestling back when I was a child, and yes, I used to imitate it. I used to imitate it safely, didn't hurt anyone. And even till this day, I will still perform some of it safely. No one has ever gotten hurt. I'm not gonna, stunner someone literally. I'm not gonna choke slam someone literally. I'm going to, play it safe. So in the wrestling world, children watch wrestling and they're going to imitate it. And I did the same. And thank God no one was hurt. I wasn't hurt, etc. So after I searched children copying wrestling, first thing that comes up is pro wrestling under fire after child's death. So again, we don't see these kind of titles when it's regarding dogs or the dog owner. You never see titles of dog owner under fire after child's death or dogs under fire after child. We don't see that. It's just child is hurt or killed or someone is hurt or killed. Then at the way, 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 way bottom, they say the dog is destroyed or put down or is quarantined. End of story. But for this example, child had copied something they seen on wrestling, and they killed one of the childs. Were killed by it. Horrible. But they're blaming pro wrestling, and they're probably gonna point the finger at the juggernaut WWE. They're gonna now blame the WWE for this incident. Something or someone that isn't that isn't forcing people to copy them. But when someone or children imitate it, we gotta go, thousands of miles and blame the WWE or wrestling, pro wrestling, just because someone imitated something and a tragic event happened. And again, I don't get it. I don't agree with it. Even as children, adults, we're all responsible for our own actions. And if I watch something on the television or in a movie, and if I imitate it and it goes wrong, that is my fault. It is my fault that someone got hurt. It's my fault for even trying it. But in this case, they're pointing the finger at pro wrestling because of this incident. But again, this doesn't happen in dog culture. This does not happen in dog culture whatsoever. The only time something like this would happen is if someone is defending themselves against a dog, or a police officer is defending himself against a dog. Then it would probably be police officer under fire after killing dog. So-and-so neighbor under fire after killing neighbor's dog. That's fact. That's just how it is. But if a dog attacks and harms another person, dog isn't blamed. The owner isn't blamed. They just talk about what happened, who's hurt, and they move on. But again, during this time, when wrestling, the late 90s, early 2000s, that's when pro wrestling was, it wasn't as popular as now, maybe, but it was, it was intense back then. And, people, they followed it. They copied what they see. But again, we can't go and blame someone else for our own actions. We can't do that. But if someone decides to bring in a worthless mutt in the house and that dog attacks or kills someone, then now we have the right to blame the dog and the person for bringing this dog into the house. Is pro wrestling pointing a gun at you and telling your children to copy what they see on TV? Again, this is, the parents' job to educate their own children. I know personally, I figured it out on my own. These wrestling moves are dangerous. I know, I copied some of it, but at the end of the day, no one was hurt. And I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna throw someone into a table or choke slam them or kick them in the head. Again, it's the child is to blame, and the parents as well is to blame for not educating their own children regarding this. Here's another story. Despite warning from professional wrestlers, imitation sometimes has deadly consequences. So again, these things, you don't see these titles when it comes to dogs. when there's been what, over 4.2 million dog bites and countless dog related deaths towards children and other people, we don't see these. We don't see warnings. There's no warnings. It's just incident happened, dog is put down, we move on. And look at it. And they use the term deadly consequences. We never see this used by the media to describe owning a dog, specifically a pit bull. We don't see it. Again, the media will, even though pit bulls have harmed and killed more than children imitating wrestling in the last, let's say, I want to say 30 years. But we never see them say deadly consequences in owning a dog, and specifically a pit bull. Again, it is sad. It is sad, And again, they're going to point the blame at this company. And again, we as people we are responsible for our own actions. We choose to copy. We choose to bring in dogs into the house. And if we are going to choose to do wrestling moves and it hurts someone, then you as a person are to blame. And if you decide to bring a dog in the house and that dog attacks someone, you who brought the dog in is responsible, and the dog as well. I mean, countless children have been watching wrestling for over 30, 40, maybe 50 years, and there's been far less deaths of them copying wrestling. There's been far less deaths of wrestlers in the ring than there have been of dog attacks by the man's best friend. Here they go again. Is pro wrestling to blame for girl's death? Do we ever see these titles of is the dog to blame for so-and-so's death? Is the dog owner to blame? Again, this is the media. They are going to use various tactics for whatever reason, for whatever purpose. They can attack any other company, any other person. They can insult and try to, bash whatever, anyone else, any other company. But when it comes to dogs, it's like, it's forbidden. You're forbidden. You cannot talk negative or bad regarding dogs. Because we never see articles or titles like this. Never. Maybe there's a rare couple out there that do, but for the most part, it is always a downplay of a title just to protect the dog. And usually they're going to have even if the dog does kill someone, they're going to have a nice, sweet, cute picture of the dog. So how come there isn't a nice, picture or sweet picture of wrestlers here? Even on these ones, how come they didn't put like a nice picture of wrestlers? An innocent picture of wrestlers. But when a dog attacks or kills someone, they're going to put a nice picture of the dog. A sweet picture. A dog who's probably wearing a little hat and glasses. Probably wearing a bow tie, just so the audience looking at it can sympathize with the worthless mutt. But that does not happen with me. Yeah, so how about this story? So, a 13-year-old boy is convicted of murder in wrestling death. So, a boy had tried a wrestling move, accidentally killing a 6-year-old girl. And he was sentenced with, it was 3 years. It was 3 years. It says life in prison. Again, it's sad. It is sad. But you never hear these stories regarding the dog owner having to go to prison or jail after a dog attack. I'm not even sure. I'm not 100% sure if they do. I'm not 100% sure if dog owners get sent to prison after their dog has attacked or killed someone. I'm sure it probably does happen for some cases, but I think for most, I just don't remember hearing anything about it. Because again, with dog stories, it's just about who was attacked, the type of dog that attacked, the people saying I never expected that, and then the dog either put down or quarantined. I think, you know, this is a sad story. It is a sad story. It's unfortunate. Again, you're responsible for our own actions. And families are probably very hurt about this. It's sad, but again, this child, had to pay for his actions for what he did. But dog owners don't have to pay for their actions. Really, they get slapped on the wrist, they get their dog back, and they're out doing the same reckless crap that they always do. But a child imitating this, and I'm not defending this. I think I think this child received a harsher punishment than any other dog owner has ever received. Because all they do is get slapped on the wrist and they're back out there getting another dog, committing the same acts over and over and over again. It's sad. I already read about this again, so again, and this is it's not just with pro wrestling, back when the early Power Rangers were like the original Power Rangers were on, it was all about it's too violent, children imitating, some children got hurt and etc. And there was this big, back in those days, the early 90s, mid 90s, or late 90s, there was this, it was pretty huge back then. A lot of people were talking about how children playing Power Rangers was dangerous and they didn't want their children watching Power Rangers because they're going to imitate it. It's too violent. But then, in this dog culture, after countless children have been harmed by dogs, not a single outpour from the media. Not a single outpour from the media. Same with pro wrestling, children imitate it. And the media's all over pro wrestling. The media's all over Power Rangers, all over a certain movie, etc., etc. But when a dog attacks over and over and over again, nothing is done. It's the same old story. The same old story. Nothing is being done. And truth be told, the power, it's within all of us. We have it's our choice. We make these choices. Everything we do is based on the choices we as people make. Whether you're a child or a grown adult, we are the ones that make decisions and we choose them. So these dog lovers and dog owners are choosing to endanger their children with dogs. If a child chooses to use a wrestling move on another child, and that child, hurts someone else, that child made that choice to do it. And then we're going to, again, punish the child, blame Power Rangers, blame wrestling, blame TV. But after countless of incidents incidents regarding dogs. There's no backlash. There's no outpour. There's no media, saying, oh, is dogs bad? Is this, that? There's nothing out there. And this has been going longer than the WWE has been around. Longer than, I want to say, maybe televised pro wrestling has been around. But not a single thing is being done. In dog culture, dog lovers can get away with murder. In dog culture, dog lovers, dog owners can get away with harming and endangering and abusing children. But if you abuse a dog, say you even hate dogs, that's like a crime. You are hated, you are bashed, people don't like you. You may not get put on the news, but people are gonna attack you for it. Anything else? But if it's regarding dogs, it's like, if it's regarding the dangers of dogs, it's like whatever. Yeah, so I hope that makes sense. Again, I like to tie in, other things in the world that can be related to dog culture. And we can see this unfair, I don't know, double standards or whatever that means. And it is unfair. It may sound like a child, but it's not fair at all. It is not fair. Not fair at all. And for over 2 years, our lives have changed. 2 years. In 2 years, our lives have drastically changed. And we can do the same with dogs. But we damn know, we sure know that if we decide to ban or eliminate dogs or outlaw dogs, then it's going to be a riot. You damn know, it's going to be a riot out there. People can give up their way of living, freedom, but they will never, ever allow anyone to give up their worthless mutts. A dog that all it does is shit, eat, and does absolutely nothing. This is Gore the Dog Butcher. Remember, it is okay to hate dogs.